So, namaste.
Oos.
Oos. And welcome to our podcast. No, I'm only kidding. Whatever.
I don't be kidding, I'm quite comfortable.
Oh, you know, it is quite nice. Yeah, the chair's a little bit small for that. But, so, we are trying to revive our podcast.
Do or do not.
Do or do not. We are reviving the podcast. Thank you. And really what we're going to talk about is whatever seems to be like our theme for the week, yeah?
Yeah.
Because it seems like every now and then we have like a bit of a theme running through the week that gets us thinking, or would that be correct?
Yeah, I'd say it would be correct.
And anyway, a couple of days ago, me and Matt were having a conversation. Matt and I.
Wow.
I know, right? I know.
Good start.
Jesus Christ, when Matt's sunning me like that, wow. I've done something wrong. Yeah, so we were having a chat, Matthew and I.
Yes, thank you.
About a concept that we, mostly Matthew, termed refreshing the browser.
Mm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So we like to have like silly little names for our ideas, don't we? Mm. And I believe Matt said that he'd been talking to Luke about a similar subject a few days before.
We had.
And we were just talking about how this applies to many things. And I think the way we were talking about it was more about relationships with other people, but it also applies, like all of our stupid shit, to tattooing and art and
everything.
All these kind of concepts are universal, though, aren't they?
They are indeed. Mm.
Matt, why don't you explain what refreshing the browser means to you?
Where to begin?
So what were we talking? In what context were we talking?
That's
about,
what I was trying
example?
to think in my brain. It's hard to remember the context of how we started talking about it, but I think we were talking about self-development at first.
Yeah.
Which then led into how making sure on a regular basis that you are refreshing your perspective is a good way to grow yourself.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if you have a stagnant perspective on something, then you yourself might become stagnant in the way that you think.
Yeah, and it's a little bit like our talk yesterday on our video where we were talking about when you're in a bit of a creative rut. And everyone had their different ways of figuring out what to do about that to get out of a rut. But essentially it was, if you do the same thing, you're going to get the same results. Mm-hmm. So in their own way, everyone was saying, like, mix things up, try something different, whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's what we were talking about relationships. Say, for example, my relationship with George, my son, or Jasmine, my daughter, that when they're a child, you have this relationship where you're the dad, you're the parent, they're the child. And at some point, usually around their kind of teenage or early 20s, you have to really refresh your view on that, and you have to kind of look at the relationship with fresh eyes and realise, wow, they're not like a little child, they're a grown person now, so you have to kind of change your relationship with them somewhat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure for some people that grows organically, but oftentimes there's things where you're like, you still see them as a child, but you have to change your view, you have to look at it from a different angle, or find some way of breaking out of that perspective, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, and that applies to so many things, and it definitely applies to your art, doesn't it?
Absolutely, 100%. Well, anything,
Well, absolutely
even
anything.
If you're not an artist.
Yeah, exactly. So every now and then, we were saying before there was I guess it's a type of meditation, or a type of, seeing your surroundings and seeing things for what they are. That every day, several times a day, you should really try and look at the room that you're in with fresh eyes and really see it for what it is, because you just get used to seeing the same thing, and your brain kind of makes up a lot of the stuff, right? Yeah. And so one great example of this would be, Luke was telling the story on our tattoo talk video, and we said earlier on how Luke's stories he abbreviates what actually happened, and he's not always the greatest storyteller. He likes to break things down into bullet points. And so one of the most interesting versions for me of Luke refreshing his browser was when you'd injured your hand, couldn't work, and then you had to
had to do different things.
And explain maybe what some of the things were and how that completely changed your way of working.
Yeah, well, I think my work's always been quite tight and precise looking, and it's not, and that really isn't the kind of stuff that I like to look at. I much prefer things when they look expressive and
a bit loose and a bit.
Yeah, it looks like an actual human's done it rather than a robot, you know. But whenever I did try and do things like that, it kind of looked forced. Even if other people couldn't really see it, for me, it just I could tell that it was like I was faking it.
Yeah.
But then when I had to draw with my left hand, I think where there was no expectations of it, and it was like a different artist doing it for me. But then once I got to, because I'd done that for a couple of months with my left hand.
Yeah, because you'd been going to like life drawing classes as well, right?
Yeah.
And then drawing there with your left hand, obviously.
Yeah. But,
and what was that like? Because you said you found it actually easier to block a subject in with your left hand.
I still do that now.
Yeah.
Now that I've now I can use the right one. Like if I'm drawing anything, even if I'm drawing on a person, I kind of get the first bit blocked out with my left hand now, because I think that it kind of, for some reason, isn't as robotic.
Is that because you're just a massive show off?
Because I'm a massive dickhead.
Yeah.
And I need
no,
people
but
to see it.
But you're right. I think it's a bit like when you draw, you do a design, you draw a picture. You could flip the design or look at it in the mirror or some of that thing.
Yeah, definitely.
And it just gives you a different perspective.
Yeah, but I don't even think it necessarily was just for me because when I went back to draw with my right hand, that was way better. It felt natural.
Oh, and it
so
obviously was. Like we
up.
could all tell, couldn't we?
Absolutely.
Like Luke had a bit of a level up.
I don't know if it's triggered something in my head that helped me level up a little bit. But like I said a little bit in my interview in the video this week, I kind of didn't really realise I was in a bit of a plateau. But it was only afterwards when I got back that I kind of, once I'd moved on, I'd look back and realise, I was pretty much... Not that it was even necessarily a bad thing, because I think that time was really me trying to get my techniques to a certain level, but I didn't realise I was in it while it was happening.
Yeah. No, but for sure, like after that you came back and it was like, whoa, what happened to your tattoos? They levelled up a little bit, like we all thought that, didn't we?
Yeah. One of the things I like about it is that the room for expansion is always there. And you think that you are moving on up into a certain level, but you're not. That potential is there. But it requires a new way of thinking to sometimes get the most out of that maximum potential. And so you're not moving on to a new realm. You're still working within the realms of your maximum potential, I feel, which I really like, because I feel like everyone has that maximum potential. All it takes is just a new, fresh perspective every now and again, and a new way of expressing yourself or taking on information to unlock that.
Well, I think it's like what you said before with, well, you've said to us loads of times about actually having other things going on in your life, like having another hobby kind of thing, like doing, like me and Matt both do jiu-jitsu.
We do.
And having another thing of trying to get good at, not just I think like going to the pub and having a drink with your mates, because getting good at anything is the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the same foundation. But I think they both help each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I was talking to Matt today and said where I've just gone back to jiu-jitsu, it felt completely different when I was training last night as it did.
Do you think the similar things happened to when you couldn't tattoo?
I think so. Yeah, because I was still
leveled up.
Yeah, because I was still thinking about it the whole time, and like when I couldn't do jiu-jitsu, I was still thinking a different.
But so because you were injured and now you're back, like you forced, because you've had that time off and you could see jiu-jitsu in a different way, you forced it into refreshing your browser, if you will.
Yeah, I think so. Because I think
because you were just in it, you're locked in,
so
just your mindset.
Yeah, and you're just kind of on the wheel of doing it, turning up every time.
And you're in this group mindset of the club that you go to, and that's the way everyone trains and everyone thinks about it. And then when you've had a lot of time off, what's changed mostly about that? Have you changed the way that you're thinking about training because obviously you injured your knee and stuff, or is it everything? Is it your whole approach to fighting and stuff like that as well?
I think it's the approach, because I don't know what like tattooing has felt different since I came back over Christmas as well, and I don't really know what it is, but in a good way. I feel even more enthusiastic to do it. I think with tattooing it's because I think I'm starting to realise what my work is now, and I think I'm attracting them customers that a lot of customers will let me do what like that kind of stuff on them.
Yeah.
But with jiu-jitsu, like last night when I went, it just felt natural for the first time. It didn't feel like I was doing jiu-jitsu. It felt like I was just kind of just moving with it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and it's just the same thing with changing the subject a little bit. I just remembered that Matt was saying one of the ways that he, because Matt's been around the studio for what, like 10 years or so now?
Yeah, roughly 10 years.
And obviously Matt was just like 15 or 16 or whatever when you first came in, something like that. Maybe even a bit younger, I don't know, because he used to go to school near our studio.
I was 15.
Interested in tattooing, and he's always been like the little kid and the, funny little silly boy that we all make fun of and whatever. And then the last year or so, it's like you can tell that Matt wants to be taken seriously as a grown person, and obviously we won't let him because we didn't refresh our browsers on him. He's just still Matt there. But you were saying even things like, you used to have really long hair, and cutting your hair short kind of forces people into looking at you in a different way, or maybe
actual
thinking
thing that people
change.
that people can see. So a lot of people see that kind of thing and they assume that change has been forced on you in some way via perhaps a girlfriend, which I've been accused of. Yeah,
she does dress you, doesn't she?
Yeah, but I'm more than happy to be dressed.
Oh my gosh, she's made you look so much better than you used to look.
Yeah.
Thank you, Robin, by the way, just in case. She'll never watch this, but if she does, well done. Well played.
She won't watch this. But people assume that because I feel that those people don't change themselves. They don't understand that they can do these things.
Yeah.
And so when they see things like that, you must have had to have done that in order to be like you are now. Because they don't feel like people are capable of that kind of change for whatever that might be, which I find interesting. And obviously, that a lot of people just being silly, but for some people, I think it's a serious thing where they're kind of trapped in a mindset and they don't actually realise that.
Well, do you think so? I've been thinking about since we had that conversation, I've been thinking about a lot of things in that way, and it sounds like a silly example, but a lot of the things that make me think differently are silly little insignificant things. And I'd watched a video recently of this guy who he's a baker. He makes cakes and pastries and things like that, and he's like the most incredible baker I've ever seen in my life. He's a young guy. I don't know if it's the same guy or not. Anyway, I was watching that at the Amber show. I mean, because she loves baking. Yeah. And he was making these incredible things. I didn't know they were cakes. It looked like a little clock or a pocket watch or something like that. I was like, what the hell? But one of the guys had come from, I don't know if it's the same guy or a different one, but he'd been an architect or engineer or something like this, and he'd started making cakes, and he just changed the rules of making cakes.
Yeah.
And so I was like, a lot of times in an industry, sport or anything like that, the people that are in it, they can't see the woods for the trees. They're just locked into this way of thinking. It can be a little bit incestual in like tattooing, and like everyone looks at everyone's tattoos and then they're all inspired by the other tattoos, and so nothing really fresh or new comes into that. And a lot of times in an industry, it's always changed by a guy that comes from outside with a fresh perspective. And so it just made me think about, as always, these concepts apply universally, but so I apply them to tattooing because that's what we do. And I was thinking, I wonder if there's a way, for us to change the way we feel about tattooing without having to get somebody else come in from outside with those fresh eyes. We have to find techniques to do that for ourselves, right? Like try and throw away what the rule book is about, how we think the industry works, how tattoos should be done, how all of it, and just do whatever. I think I said it to Kaylee the other day, like, what would you do if there were no rules, there was no tattoos, you'd never seen any, what would you want to do? How would you approach it? And I feel like that's the way we should be thinking about it, don't you?
definitely. Especially if you want the industry to grow or your own work as an artist to grow. I was slightly off topic, but I was at the British Museum yesterday. And I was looking at the Roman kind of sculptures and Egyptian stuff as well. And it was interesting because I was thinking to myself, I wonder.
Thinking to himself.
I was thinking to myself. I was thinking to myself. I wasn't thinking to Jason. That I wonder in how many odd years the tattooing will be around. I wonder what place in a museum it would have, and I wonder what people's perception of it is, because when you see something you just see it as this condensed bullet point like Luke's stories, but when you go see it in that museum,
history has a way of condensing things down.
It does,
You know, the main points.
Because at the time there was just some guys that was making some statues, and I wonder if they went through the same kind of thought process as what we do in how we express ourselves.
I would imagine so, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, of course, but it just it made me think to myself.
It's the best kind of thinking, I find. Yeah. So do you think in tattoo industry in general, and again, like we said, if you want to be on the forefront and you want to be trying to move forward, which, you know, I don't know how many people we need doing that, but we definitely need some people that are trying to move us forward and move the goalposts, change the industry, whatever. You know, there's nothing wrong with the people that just want to carry on doing the things, or the traditional people that want to do, you know, there's nothing, that's got its place as well. But do you feel that a lot of tattooists from the people that you know do have a kind of closed-minded, I mean closed-minded in a bad way, I just mean that they've got a narrower view of what tattoos are, maybe even the words they use to describe stuff keeps them in that frame of mind, and therefore it's harder for them to grow as an artist?
Well, I think most of the tattooers I know are the ones that work here, and they're not like that. But obviously when we do have guest artists come in, it's kind of strange how it's like, oh, a tattooer just walked in, you know, like it, using the tattoo words, and it kind of throws me off a little bit. Because I'm not really used to it. Like, we don't really talk in a way of. I feel like someone could come in not knowing we're tattooers and not even guess, you know, because what we talk about isn't ever really about tattooing, is it? It's about anything. But I mean, it works for everything. You know? There's some bullshit in there as well, but
most of what we do, like you've said it before on one of our previous podcasts. You said that when you talked about your apprenticeship here, of course there's technical aspect to it, but really and truly the technical side of tattooing, you know, without selling it short, is a reasonably simple
it'll come, won't it?
process. Like with simple, there's not many things to learn. It takes years to perfect those things, but that will just come with practice. Once you've figured out these are the ways to put a line in, these are the ways to put a solid colour, and these are the ways to try and soften an edge or whatever. I know I'm making it sound really simple, it's not that simple, but that will just come with repetition and over time.
If you want that, it'll happen, but the other bit might not. You know,
but our thing is like, ours is all about philosophy, isn't it? Everything's about like, just that, your approach, your philosophies on life, and letting that come out in your tattoos, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think...
and so we don't really use a lot of tattoo words or...
No, it's not about tattooing, is it?
Well, we feel like that's weird. Isn't it funny that we don't think tattooing has got much to do with tattooing, and we don't think that art has got much to do with the elements in the design? If anything, those things distract us, don't they?
I'm disappointed when I notice what the picture's of. You know, not that it has to be so abstract that I can't see it, but sometimes I'll look at one of yours or Leanne's tattoos, and I don't even see the picture of a girl or a face or whatever. You know, a girl or a face, girl. You know what I mean?
But funny on the outside, and I don't know the people that are copying those ideas or working in that type of style, it seems like they've only seen the face or the skull or the whatever, and they think the design is all about the elements.
It's a small part of it, isn't it?
And they're almost distracting and annoying that it has to have a face or a skull, right?
Yeah.
I'd much rather it just simply had an emotion or a feel.
Absolutely, when I was at the British Museum yesterday, again, there was an exhibition This
No way.
You're
of
mental.
this artist, and we were leaving, and we were walking through, and I wasn't really paying much attention. But as I walked by the artwork, I felt it. It's the only way I can.
I definitely
No.
like to do that.
No, you'd probably get thrown out. Yeah.
I felt the artwork, and I was like, "That's what I want." With my tattoos, I want people to
Yep, to feel it.
to feel it, not look at it. It's almost the visual aspect is.
Well, they might have to look at it first.
They might have to, but I mean, I saw it in my peripheral vision,
yeah.
so.
No, I was going to say, I've had a really similar experience. I mean, Leanne was the one, like in our relationship, she'd studied fine art and she was the one that knew about that, and she'd drag me along to galleries and stuff like that. And at the time, I really didn't have a lot of interest in that. And I'd walk into a gallery and I can't, there's one artist in particular, but I'd just, again, the same thing, I walked into the room, quite willing to do all the normal things that you do in a gallery. You walk around, shuffle around the room, like go around in an orderly fashion, clockwise or whatever you do, hands in that position. And I had no clue about art. I didn't know who was a famous painter. I didn't really know very much at all. I probably knew Van Gogh and a couple of other names. And same thing, in my peripheral vision, I caught this picture in the corner, and I had to go over to it. Like it was almost, I was just compelled, as if I was, it was a tractor beam or something like that. And I loved it. And I had a very similar experience with a Francis Bacon painting. That, it turns out that my subconscious has got incredible taste. It loves Francis Bacon. It loved Lucian Freud.
Yeah.
It loved
Actual bacon.
Rembrandt. Yeah, I fucking love actual bacon. Jesus Christ. But all these things that I had no clue who was meant to be good and who wasn't, but I was just so attracted emotionally to these pictures. I didn't know who painted them, whatever.
Yeah.
So for sure you realise that that's the kind of impact you want your art to have. And in fact, when we went to a Rembrandt exhibition, was it maybe last year, I think it was, and remember we were having these weird conversations about going to an exhibition of paintings and what you're really looking at, and you're all very disappointed when I'm like, it's just paint on wood. Like, why don't you paint your own bit of wood and have a feeling? But it was the real point of it to me, and I love Rembrandt, but it was that this guy could just have an intention, have a feeling, get some paints and a canvas or a piece of wood, whatever, paint this picture on there, and like we were saying, the picture that he paints is completely irrelevant, but somehow his intention or his feeling or the atmosphere, whatever he was thinking, somehow seems to be embodied on this canvas. Hundreds of years later, someone can look at that and feel almost exactly what that guy intended you to feel. It blows my mind, because essentially all it is bits of paint on a canvas. And so when you get that powerful experience, you really want to, like I said, have your own artwork, have that feeling for somebody else, right?
Absolutely. I think that's the point of it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
In order to ascertain that
said feelings,
I feel like refreshing your perspective is an absolutely essential.
Oh, it's absolutely essential though, isn't it? I love that when we talked about it the other day that you'd framed it like that.
Nice.
That you'd narrowed it down to this concept, and then it's easy, because in future when we have problems, sometimes these things come up and you go like, oh, he didn't refresh his browser, and we immediately know what we're talking about, right? But yeah, absolutely it is. Otherwise you do get locked in a kind of tunnel vision or same way of thinking about stuff, right? Sorry, I'm being distracted. George is doing something with his phone that was... he's sending us messages, writing them on his phone.
Like we're held by the Taliban.
Yeah.
I just want to say I've been treated really well.
That is what it felt like.
And there's 25 minutes gone.
Wow. So I just refreshed my browser on George there.
Yeah.
Wow.
25 minutes have gone.
Yeah.
Well, I think something I'd like to talk about is not using my own energy, because I think that's the most important thing I've ever learned.
Well, I mean, shall we talk about that next time fully?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because without a shadow of a doubt, like you'd said that again recently, and that was one of our biggest breakthroughs ever, wasn't it? When we came up with the concept of not using your own energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I mean, we've had the 25-minute mark. So I feel like that means we're meant to stop now.
This means I get to see my family.
You get to see your family. George gets to go have leg day with Mike at the gym, and everything's good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, in a bit.
Yeah. All right, we'll get to that next time then. Yeah. In a bit.
Aye.
No?
Aye.
No.
I know.